Hey bro, how do I get a bigger deadlift? Hey Cailer, how do I increase my speed off the floor whenever I deadlift? Hey Cailer, how do I build a stronger lockout position in my deadlift? Hey Dr. Deadlift, whenever I deadlift, my background's really bad. How do I fix this? So those are all very common questions that I get on a pretty regular basis. People about asking how to do this and this with their deadlifts. And the first thing I always look at before I even go to addressing whatever issue is that they ask specifically is I check out their technique and see how their technique looks. And 9 times out of 10, a lot of these issues can be fixed with them just improving their technique. So today what I'm going to talk about a little bit is just basically how to set up for a conventional deadlift. I'm going to make it as simple as I can. I see a lot of videos that just kind of really seem to overdo a lot of the deadlift cues, and hopefully what I made for you today is just a little bit simpler, maybe a little bit easier to follow. So here we go. Alright guys, so today I'm going to kind of talk about how I like to get set up for a conventional deadlift. Now, if you're new to deadlifting, this is how you're going to want to learn how to deadlift first before you ever worry about sumo. Now, it's a whole other argument on its own. So today, we're just going to talk about the conventional deadlift. And I personally believe that the conventional deadlift should be the base for, every strength program. I think you should always do the conventional deadlift more than a sumo deadlift. It's going to build just more strength overall. And then, maybe the longer you get into powerlifting or whatever, getting closer to a meet, then you can kind of specialize in one stance. And then practice a little bit more closer to the meet. But just my opinion, the majority of your deadlifts should be conventional, but that's just different for everybody. So the first thing you're going to do is kind of determine where you want to put your feet. How far apart you need to put your feet for a conventional deadlift. This is one of the things that I see done, wrong quite a bit. I would say the most common mistake I see is, people with hips. So my hips are pretty narrow, right? And people are putting their stance outside their hips, and then they're grabbing the bar like way out here, deadlifting like Brian Shaw, whereas Brian Shaw's hips are, for example, his hips are way out here, so it makes sense for him to put his feet that far apart. So typically you don't want to have your feet any further apart than the width of your hips. A good way to kind of determine what that feels like is to use what's called a jump stance. So I like to just aggressively step up to the bar like I'm about to jump as far as I can in front of me. Jump as far as I can, broad jump, or jump up and touch something like this. Or even maybe think about standing here getting ready to do like a backflip or something. I'm obviously not going to do that, but that kind of helps me kind of determine where my feet need to be. So step up to the bar like this, like I'm ready to go. And also, you don't want to have your feet completely parallel to each other. I'll even encourage you guys to stand here and do this as you're watching this video. So stand here with your feet completely 100% parallel to each other, and try to flex your butt together. Yeah, you can get some tightness there. Now just rotate just a little turn. Turn your heels in just a little bit, just like that. And then now flex your glutes together. And it should feel probably 10 times tighter, which is good. That means we're getting the glutes activated a little bit more. That's probably the most important muscle that we're trying to utilize here, or at least one of the most important muscles. So yeah, jump stance, feet pointed out just a little bit. And yeah, from there, that's kind of how you determine, your setup for your feet. And we'll just kind of move on, build from here. Okay, so now that we kind of determined where we need to put our feet whenever we set up for the deadlift, now we're just going to kind of go through the rest of the steps from there. And I'm really going to try to make it as simple as possible. Because I see a lot of these videos be really overdone with too many cues and too much this, and it's honestly just kind of confusing. So I'm just going to stick with what I think is really simple and probably the easiest way that I like to go about doing it. And so we're just going to go ahead and get started. So we have our feet set with our jump stance. Now, I like to have the bar basically kind of cutting my foot in half. But, even if I land up to the bar with my shins touching it, as I go down to get myself set, the bar will roll itself away from me because my shins will basically position the bar from here. So it's not really too much to be worried about. Obviously, you just don't want to have the bar in front of your feet or anything like that. Just as long as soon as you start pulling, the bar is maintaining a slight contact with you all the way up through the movement. All right, so as far as where we're going to put our hands, that's just going to be, I like to stand here, let my arms just kind of, hang loose. I don't force them to go in, don't force them to go out too far. They just need to be hanging down, and typically they're going to end up just right outside of your legs, just like that. Simple and easy. Okay, and then from here, the most important thing about getting set up for a deadlift is determining where your hips need to be whenever you start to pull. Because obviously, if you start with your hips way too low, the first thing that's going to happen is, your hips are going to shoot up, and you're going to end up using your back too much. And then if you start with your hips too high, you're going to end up using your back too much. And, so an easy way to fix that is to use the bar to get yourself set into position. So from here, start with the bar, decently close to our shins, right around mid-foot, hands outside of our feet. And then I like to, get my grip set, get my feet set, stretch down to the bar like this. So notice how I'm completely stretched out. Every muscle that's going to be involved in the movement is completely elongated here and stretched out. And then from here, I just pull my hips, use the weight of the bar to pull my hips down, set the position nice and tight, and then kind of just stand up from there. So again, use the bar to get myself set, pull myself down until I feel nice and tight, hips below the shoulders, and just like that, Don't want any slack in our upper body or anything like that. And for me personally, that's like how I get set up for my deadlift every single time. That's the easiest way for me to be able to tell where my hips need to be in the starting position. Because like I said a second ago, if your hips aren't in the right position, then the lift is just going to not be efficient, and you're probably going to hurt yourself. Now, another way to go about doing it, if that doesn't really work for you, you can just pick the bar up, and then from here, go down, and just like that. So just maintain a good posture, and you'll be able to tell if you're, not having good form setting it down, because it's not going to feel good. So, you're going to go down, keep in good form, and then right there, that's where your hips need to be whenever you start. So really familiarize yourself with where that starting position is for your hips, because that is going to be the number one most important thing for your deadlift. Even more important than how far apart you put your feet. So I hope that helps with the setup of your deadlift a little bit, and then we'll move on to some extra little cues that I use to help me out a little bit through the lift. Okay, so now that we have our feet set and determine where our hips need to be when we pull and where we need to grab the bar, we're just going to kind of go from there. Now, basically, that's really going to be the the biggest part of the lift right there, is just getting set up correctly. So that's going to fix a lot of issues that you're having. A lot of people ask me, hey, I have trouble with power off the floor. My lockout sucks. Well, make sure this is right first. Make sure your technique is good first, and that should probably fix a lot of those issues for you. Now, just a couple little things to add to that. And really, before I pull, so I do pull with an overhand grip. This also works with a mixed grip as well. It's just pointing my elbows back and locking my shoulders into place. So, you don't want to be out here like this or anything. I really like to rotate my elbows back and almost think about like I'm pushing my shoulder blades down into my pockets. So, rotate my elbows, go like this. And what that's going to do, that's going to keep my upper back tight and keep it from rounding over like this, because if your upper back rounds off the floor, you're going to get right here, and it's going to be basically impossible to uncoil yourself to the top. This makes it really difficult. So the tighter the upper back can be, the better. So nice tight upper back, boom. And the last thing, when you're thinking about deadlifting, it's not going to be a movement of your back. Don't think about it at all like that. Don't think about it as a movement of your back. Think about it as more so just using your back as a brace, keeping your back stable, and really just from here, an extension of the hips and the legs. So you're pulling the bar up. Don't think about pulling it back, because that's when you're going to run into that. Think about pulling the bar up and pulling yourself into the bar, pulling the hips into the bar. And we're also going to want to keep a neutral spine. So we're not going to want to have our heads tilted up like this in deadlifting, because that just looks like crap. That's just going to make your deadlift crap. I like to keep my head nice and neutral. You're almost looking down like this, nice neutral spine. Feet set, elbows tucked in my pockets. Pull the bar up, bring my hips into the bar. Conventional deadlift. Now, you're thinking to yourself, why the hell should I listen to you? What do you know about deadlifting? What makes you so great? A lot of people give these cues, a lot of people make videos like this all the time. What makes yours any different? This is why. This is why right here. Check it out.